Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Nuestra Life Podcast. I am Eddie, and we have a special guest here for today, Mr. Rodney Gonzales. Mr. Rodney, how you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Hey, man, I appreciate you being here today. We want to give a big special shout-out to the Mexico Tortilla Factory for sponsoring today's episode. They even hooked me up with some merch, the nice little shirt. I appreciate it. The Tortilla Factory is at 7015 Thorn Avenue in the, you said Old Town Newark?
Old Town Newark,
California. They have some really good stuff there. It's a taqueria. It's also a like a little mini supermarket, I guess you can call it.
Yeah, a little store market.
A little store. And let's go ahead and check out the business hours. Looks like they are closed tomorrow, Sunday, but they are open between Monday and looks like Saturday, 9 to 5. Make sure you guys pay attention that Black Friday and Thanksgiving is coming up, so their hours may differ. Go ahead and make a call to them, and you can put some orders in. Let's see. We got the phone number is that 510-792-9909. Again, that's the number is 510-792-9909. And a very special shout out to them for sponsoring today's episode. Ronnie, so let's just get to it. So we work together. Ronnie and I work together. And before I started working there, I have heard a lot of stories from you from a mutual friend of ours. And he made you seem like this greater, amazing person. And I do have to admit that you've lived up to it, man. And wow. I really appreciate you coming on today to getting time from your day, for your night, because it's already nighttime here. And letting us do this here, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Eddie. Yeah, I heard a lot about you from our mutual friend, Milton. Milton and I have worked together for probably 10 years or 9 years, something like that. And yeah, he talked about you and your other two friends, Little One and JD. I don't know if I've met them. I may have. But yeah, he definitely talked about you guys. And yeah, me and Milt have had a lot of conversations. A lot of one-on-ones where, we get there early in the mornings and, having coffee and talking life and talking about, some adventures
Yeah.
and some mishaps. But yeah, it's been good.
It's super noticeable because, like, again, I just been there, about to hit 8 months now. And I've noticed, I'm very observant when it comes to a lot of stuff. It doesn't seem, and I'm not speaking just as our team in general, because it is true, our team, but like you can tell when we don't see each other, at least you and Milton, from my eyes, it doesn't seem like you guys are co-workers. It doesn't seem that way, even though technically you are by title, but it seems more of like you guys are friends. You guys.
Yeah, we're pretty tight. Milton's, a pretty likable guy, pretty easy to talk to, and so very upbeat. And so, back in the day when I used to drink, we'd have beers after work, and just chit chat, just regular guy stuff that what guys do. But yeah, definitely working together side by side for at least 8 years. Get to know a person, his family, his kids, and hear stories. I've met his parents, I think once or twice.
Definitely interesting people too.
Yeah,
definitely.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and his sister and Alex is his wife, and so yeah, we've got to know each other, and he knows my wife and my kids. So we definitely got along. There's not a lot of people. I do have, I had quite a lot of friends, but they're more like more than acquaintances. But there are very few best friends. I think a lot of people can say that you have your close friends and you have friends that you work with or colleagues or.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Our previous podcast, the Off the Meds podcast that I share with Milton, that was actually one of the topics that we spoke about, was how we can differentiate from somebody who's just a friend to somebody who's an acquaintance to somebody who's pretty much like a brother.
Yeah.
For me, Milton, I've known him, years and years and years, since high school. He's a brother.
Yeah.
I've known him for so long, and it's just his family too. They've, I went through some stuff where, I wasn't, I was pretty much homeless, and then Milton's parents they took me in and treated me like one of their own. And I always remembered that. And so, Milton's definitely a genuine person, somebody who you want to have on your side. So for this portion, we're definitely giving a big shout out to Milton.
Yeah.
And
shout out to Milton.
Keep being yourself, Milton. Even though sometimes you do give us some gray hairs.
Look at me. 35.
Yeah. 35. There you go. So Ronnie, let's talk a little bit about you. So, born and raised California.
Let's see. Yeah, I guess I was born in Hayward, 1965. But my family, I was the only one born here. My family is from Texas, San Antonio, Laredo. But before I was 1 year old, we moved back to Texas and San Antonio, and I lived there till I was about 4 years old. Mom was a school teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and she got an offer to teach bilingual education in Oakland. So we made our way back to the Bay Area in 1969. And I've been here pretty much since 1969. I did live in Texas and San Antonio for about 2.5 years,
Okay.
1978. But for the most part, I've been here.
So how do you think do you think you would have a different childhood if you were to spend most of it in Texas than in California?
I think so. I think, I guess my family, my mom and my sister and my brother were more liberals, I guess, in a way where, we moved here in '69. So back then it was the marches, Berkeley, a lot of that stuff. And my family from Texas didn't really agree with, or didn't see eye to eye. I shouldn't say agree. There was nothing really said, but they would make fun of, "Oh, you guys are Californians. You guys are out there." And then we from here would say, "Oh man, you guys need to open up and be a little bit more embraced,
Yeah.
and inclusive." So, but nevertheless, that's just, it's okay to have, I guess not disagreements, but to have different points of views.
Have differences, yeah.
Yeah. But, over the years, my family here has been more embrace, I don't know if the politics or just the conservative ways of living in Texas than it is to here. But you could say the same where a lot of the views in Texas are changing to, here, California, how things are viewed. So I think it's just a mixture now. Things have been, people have been going back and forth, and definitely the internet, social media has brought different views to light, and information
Yeah.
has been brought out. So yeah, but all in all, I think I would have been a different, maybe a little bit different person growing up over there than I did here. So yeah.
So growing up, 69, you said?
Yeah.
Now, do you remember what was the toy that everybody wanted, but maybe you just couldn't get your hands on it?
Oh man.
What was that one toy?
The toy. Well, they used to have, I wanted a Schwinn bicycle with the shifter on it. The one that had the shifter, 3-speed or 5-speed. My neighbor had that. Yeah, and I always wanted that bike. I did get a bicycle, but it wasn't quite the bike I wanted or he had. What other stuff?
So to this day, you still haven't You still haven't got that short.
No, I don't know if I feel I'd fit on it, but definitely like to have it for collectors. I remember the bike was green. It had a chrome shifter with a white knob. It was clean, man. It was a nice bicycle. I was jealous, but oh well.
Now, would have put the baseball card in the rim or no?
Oh yeah, I did. I would have for sure. Back in those days, 72, 73, the Oakland A's were winning World Series and championships. So, I love watching the A's. And when the A's win their World Series, could hear the fireworks. You could see the glow. I was that close. I lived on 35th and Fruitvale, or 35th and Foothill. But the Coliseum was still, close enough to hear the booms. So.
Yeah. So you at that time you must have gone, or at least experienced a lot of the original Battle of the Bays, being baseball and. What year did the Raiders come over here? Would that be around the time the Raiders were Oakland, or was it still?
Yeah, the Raiders were in Oakland. My brother Fred, who's 15 years older than me,
Shout out to Fred. I got to meet him a couple times.
He's a good cat, man. Yeah. He was. He's always been like the father I never had. He took me everywhere with him. He's the one that took me to my first A's game. He never did take me to a Raider game, but he used to talk about it a lot. So
I guess it turned out good for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. There was a dispute on that.
Yeah.
Being a Cowboy fan, but oh well.
Hey, we can't all be perfect. Yeah, it is what it is.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
Something's wrong with me. But
we still love you, Rodney.
Yeah, thank you, man. So Raiders were winning. They won a couple of Super Bowls back then. John Madden was a coach. A couple of the Raider players, probably when I was fourth grade, fifth grade. A couple of the Raider players, Phil Filippiano and Otis Sistrunk, came to our high school or elementary, and they talked with us, and that was pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. There was back then the A's were winning, the Raiders were winning, and even the Warriors won a championship with Rick Barry. It was a
good time to be a Bay Area guy.
Yeah, it was a good time. And I really didn't know too much about the Niners. I was a little kid. I didn't know too much about the Giants. I'd hear about them, but I wasn't a fan. I was more an Oakland-based fan.
So walk me through your first baseball game. Your first A's baseball game. What was the experience? At what age did you get to go? Do you remember the smell? Do you remember what you saw?
I just remember seeing the field. I was probably about, I'm guessing, 8 years old. And it was a day game. And walked out came into the Coliseum, to the concourse, and must have been overlooking third base. Okay. And just seeing the field is just it was huge. And back then probably 73, 74, Mount Davis wasn't there. So the Oakland Hills were, you could just see the Oakland Hills. It was just awesome, man. It was a great experience for me. I remember having a hot dog and a Coke and just
living life.
Oh man, it was perfect, man. It was great.
What age was this in your first game?
Yeah, it was must have been about 8 years old. I was just about 8 years old, 9 years old, somewhere around there. It was my brother, me and him, and then probably a couple of his buddies went, but for the most part, I just remember.
So do you remember when was the last game, the most, I guess, recent game that you've gone?
The last game I was there probably 2 years ago.
Okay.
2 years ago, I went with my kids, my family. We had a tailgate. That was. I think they played Houston or Texas, one of the two teams. It was Houston, and we beat Houston.
2 years ago?
3 years ago, yeah.
Was that not the year that the Astros were found for cheating?
Probably around that time. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So you took your kid, or I'm sorry, you went when you were 8 years old. Mm-hmm. Recently, you just went about 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
How did you experience that now that you're taking your kids to a game? I'm assuming it wasn't their first game.
No, it wasn't their first game. And my grandkids were there with us. And so that was, and it wasn't their first game, but it was just an experience. There was always something about tailgates at the A's games, and even tailgates at the Raider games. I had a lot of good times with my brother's a huge Raider fan, his buddies, and I would go with them, and yeah, it was just a lot of fun, man. A lot of community way of feeling. Everybody's rooting for the same team, and you sprinkle some of the other teams that were coming, but that were there that were playing against. But it was all in fun. Sometimes it got a little rowdy. We'll say that it got a little rowdy, but
Yeah.
it was a good time, man. Oakland is just it's just hard to believe that there's no more professional base or sports teams in Oakland. They had such a great history of winning teams. 10 years ago, let's just say, and yeah, it's gone now. So
Yeah, now everything's is all money driven, even counting like the Niners being that they left San Francisco to come to Santa Clara. It's like it was all a money grab.
Yeah.
They couldn't figure out what to do with Candlestick now. They ended up just demolishing it.
yeah,
That was definitely a sad day. They demolished the Candlestick. Raiders are now believe they're going to be playing for a couple years in Sacramento.
the A's.
And then, the A's,
Yeah.
are going to Sacramento and then finally moving to Vegas since they just demolished the Tropicana.
Yeah.
So that's going to be there. So they'll have the Las Vegas Raiders and the Las Vegas Athletics.
Yeah.
But touching back on your childhood with the bike, were you ever into like motorcycles?
No. I didn't really know anyone. I think one of my brother's friends had a motorcycle, and I was like, man, that'd be cool to have a motorcycle. I did have bicycles, and I think I got my first dirt bike or BMX bike when I was probably about, must have been in about 5th grade. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. You used to do a lot of crazy stuff on the bike, starting out from jumping off of curbs to building ramps with plywood that we found and stacking up some garbage cans and laying them on their sides and putting and just and sometimes you just hauling ass towards the ramp and you hit the front of the ramp and the ramp just falls and you hit the garbage can and there was some you
just get up
spills.
laughing.
Yeah. But
nothing compared to the times now where everything's more safe oriented, but at the same time kind of like in the sense of boringness where a lot of kids are not really, I mean, obviously they're more into being on technology on their iPads and stuff. They're not going out.
Oh man, man, when I was a kid, we moved out of our apartment in probably the 5th grade and moved to a house. And we were still in Oakland, about a mile away from the apartment, and moved into a house, and that was a dead end street, and at the end of the street was a creek, and just the neighborhood kids, once we found the creek, we would go to the creek, especially in the summertime when no school, we'd go down to the creek and we'd collect frogs and come back with a whole bucket of frogs. And my sister lived next door to us. I remember one day we came back and we just had all these frogs with my little nephews, and the frogs got out and they were all over her house, and they were she was like, what the
Right.
But yeah, man, that was just fun stuff, just the skateboards, just riding the skateboards all over, and it was just a freer time. You used to see kids all over the street, just out in the neighborhoods playing. And now you don't see that, man.
No.
They're missing out, I think they're missing out. So
Yeah, and then now you see people that are watching like streamers that go out and do stuff, and like they're living their life and they're recording 24/7.
Yeah.
And you just see kids just stuck on their phone or their iPad watching somebody else live their life.
I think even I don't know about society itself, but I read a story the other day. This woman, she got arrested because her 11-year-old boy was walking to the store, and he happened to walk through a field, and the store was less than a mile from his house. And some lady like panicked. She saw this boy walking by himself and called the cops. And the cops approached him. They found out where he lived. They went to the mom's house. They questioned her and they arrested her. I'm like, what the heck? We used to walk to the store all the time. We used to walk to the store and, back then it was called the dime store, and we have a pocket full of pennies and we'd go buy candy. And, that was at least 2-3 blocks away, 4 blocks away. And now it's just something that
Back in the good old days.
Yeah, back in the good old days, man. Yeah.
So moving on a little bit from your childhood, let's go touch base a little bit in high school. So you see a lot of movies from back then. Not trying to age you when I say back then, by the way. Just make sure we
Schoolhouse.
Yeah.
First, 12th in one room.
Yeah, there you go. So what was it like for you in high school? Were you did you drive at that moment in high school?
Well, my mom, she got sick, right? And she died when I was 15. And so I learned how to drive because I would take her to her appointments she had cancer. So I would take her to her appointments. And Mom just said, you're going to have to drive me. So she had a 1977 Buick Electra. And she told me what to do. And I jumped on the freeway. This is in San Antonio.
Okay.
And in San Antonio had a freeway, it wasn't that tumbleweeds and they had
Not all the horses running around?
no. They had asphalt and not dirt roads. So.
Right.
But yeah, anyway, so that's how I learned how to drive when I was 14, and I was taking Mom to the hospital. So my mom passed in 1981. So she left me the car, and so I would drive to school. By that time, I was living here in Newark, and here I am, a 15-year-old kid driving this luxury car. I didn't have a driver's license, so I was a kid, and like, who's a kid with a Buick Electra? And it was me.
Had all the ladies.
Yeah, I had all the ladies. And they did. Hey, where do you live? Can you give us a ride home? Like, sure. I'll give you a ride home. So, that's what it was like for me going into high school. I was a sophomore, middle of my sophomore year when I came to Newark. So, that was a lot for me to go through. I didn't know it at the time. I was kind of quiet, kind of shell-shocked. My life had changed. I was going to school in Texas, all-boys Catholic school. Had to be clean cut. There was a dress code. And then here I walk on the campus at Memorial High School in Newark, and kids walk around in shorts, long hair. Back then there was the big beat boxes, and they were walking around with the big beat boxes, and I thought there was some kind of break.
You were in a different multiverse.
Yeah, dude, it was like, what is going on here? So it was just school. That's the way school was here in California, and it was definitely an adjustment. And then I got a job as a busboy when I was 17, and we were talking about my buddy Dave earlier.
Yep.
And Dave was opposite from me. He very, he was not afraid to talk to anyone. He was just full of life and a lot of fun, and he could talk a lot of crap, a lot of shit. Didn't matter who you were, And I was taken back when I heard him, and but man, I laughed, dude. I just laughed all the time, and we hit it off pretty well, even though we're opposite. We got along really well. I think Dave got along with pretty much anyone anyway. But with that being said, he had a group of friends that he had known for a long time, elementary school. And those guys, they're the ones that, showed me how to drink. because they idolized Animal House and Hollywood Nights and Meatballs and Caddyshack. And yeah. So Dave's birthday was in February. I met Dave in October, or I met Dave in the summer of '82. And then, went to high school and then, and we worked at the Farmhouse, our restaurant there in Newark. We were both busboys. And then, anyhow, so we just kind of started hanging out with him and his buddies. And he says, let's have a toga party. I was like, what's a toga party? I was like, yeah, let's do it. I don't know what a toga party was. I didn't know what a toga was.
Right.
So
you wanted to be part of the group.
Yeah, we'll be part of the group. And these guys were a lot of fun. And
Right.
So that's what we ended up having this huge, we ended up getting butcher paper. And they put on toga party at this house. Back then there was no GPS or maps or anything. We drew a map of the main streets there in Newark and how to get to
So
the
you guys
house.
were the original
address.
MapQuest.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, we were. And the day of the party, it was I remember the first two. Well, besides us, the first two guests to show up were three girls, and they're just wearing sheets. And we're 17 years old, and I'm like, what the heck? And we had 3 kegs of beer.
Yeah.
And it's at my sister's house. And we just had the biggest, funnest party. It must have been over 100 kids, man. And it was wild, man. It was just wild. And so much fun that we had another one in April for my birthday. And it was even more people. And we put banners in 2 high schools, one at Washington High School, one at Michigan High School, and then one there. And so we.
And this is still while you're 17.
Yeah.
Or turning 18.
Yeah, I turned 18.
For your birthday.
So, yeah, it was, it was a wild, crazy time. That was the best time of my life for many years.
And then this whole time you still had the Electra.
Yeah. No, actually, I had traded in the Electra. Or actually, my brother took the Electra, and I bought a 1979 Toyota pickup with a little camper on it.
Look at you.
Yeah. So I bought that in probably just before 1983, 82, somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
I bought that. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. So Rodney, so how we were talking. So you had the toga party for your birthday.
Yeah.
And then you were saying that your brother ended up taking the Electra from you.
Yeah, I think I think I gave it to him, or I think I gave it to him. He had it, and then he kept it for 10 years or so, and then finally got rid of it. But
And you said you got a Toyota pickup with the camper on there.
yeah, an SR5 Toyota pickup with a camper, 5-speed. Love that little truck, man.
What was the usage of the camper at 18?
Oh, he's going to drive-ins with buddies. That whole Cheech and Chong thing. Back in the day, my brother used to say, "Yeah, man, we got the guys would get in the trunk of the car." We had they had the Impalas and the big cars, and so I didn't have a big. Well, I had a big car, but never did the trunk thing. But although actually, it reminds me one time. We went to. I was still living in Texas, and the neighborhood kids. We all went to. Back in San Antonio, they had an X-rated drive-in, and so we got into an X-rated drive-in.
You're talking about when they put the movie on the.
Yeah. X-rated.
Hopefully, this thing is like secluded, not like how we have in San Jose, where it's literally right next to the main road.
I don't remember. I just remember the neighborhood kids, because I'd only been there a couple of years, 2-3 years. And they said, hey, let's go to the drive-in. I was like, yeah, cool, let's go. And it ended up being an X-rated drive-in movie. I was like, what the heck? That was crazy. That was a trip. I was 16 years old, man. And or probably 15, yeah. And we went. But yeah, so I think that was the only time that I can remember how you taken the Electra to the drive-in. Other than that, we used my pickup. I had the camper on it, and Yeah, actually, I saw not 1999, When Doves Cry,
Okay.
Purple Rain,
Purple Rain, right?
with Prince at the drive-in here in Union City. What is now Union City, Union Landing, with all the stores and, down over here, Texas Roadhouse
Okay.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
That used to
The
be
movie theaters and all that's right there.
a 6-screen drive-in.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was the thing to do, man. That was awesome. I miss the drive-ins. That was a lot of fun.
So you're, man, just from 8 years old going to games to, you know, losing your mom at 15 to high school, just toga parties for your 18th birthday. Now adulthood. Now you started working at what age again? You said as a busboy.
My first job, I was a busboy. I was 17.
Okay. So what was your first job as quote unquote an adult once you've reached 18?
I went back to Texas, and when I graduated high school, my buddy Dave and I took a road trip. We drove to Texas, and we went out there to hang out. We were there for about 2 weeks or so. And then I had quit the farmhouse, the busboy job. So when I got back, I got a job at a place called Audio Alternatives here in Fremont, and I was installing car stereos and alarms. And back in the day, they were doing car phones, the
big box in the center consoles.
Yeah, and they had this huge amplifier that they put under the seats. It was huge. But yeah, so I did that for a year, and in the meantime, it was all right, but I had some friends that I had worked with as a busboy, working at the Red Lobster. So I went to work at the Red Lobster. I quit.
You went back to food.
Yeah, I went doing food, and I worked there at the Red Lobster for 3 years. And that was a lot of fun. Restaurant work, and when you worked at restaurants, there's a lot of parties, a lot of you don't get off till 11 o'clock at night, 11:30, and I was young, and so yeah.
A lot of those biscuits, huh?
A lot of biscuits, a lot of hush puppies.
There you go.
Yeah. I ate well at that restaurant. I was the cook, so a lot of steak and lobsters, crab.
So what was the environment like after you're 18? Let's say 18 to like 25. What's environment as in like the city? Has it changed, within those years? Is the people changing?
No, Fremont is always, at that time it was a small town vibe. Around the area, there was a lot of agriculture here in Fremont. There used to be a lot of orchards around. So there was still some of that. And there were a lot of gladioli fields. So a lot of flowers. And so, back now where I'm living right now, this was just a hillside, there was nothing, no houses here.
And they're still adding.
Yeah.
So I remember going down 680 there. I think they just finished a house that they've been building for years.
Yeah.
Down the road over here. So yeah, small town vibe. It still kind of feels like that.
A little bit.
Especially going down the road right here.
Yeah.
Those like right before you get to, what is it, a high school or the college or something? That's right.
Ohlone?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where the mission is.
Yeah. There's a little, like that looks like a little town. Those little 3 or 4 shopping.
They have that, but there's Niles Canyon. I don't know if you've been to Niles. Mm-hmm. Their claim to fame is Charlie Chaplin started his filming there. That was supposedly, the story goes, that was going to be Hollywood. So they still have the Charlie Chaplin museum there, and a lot of antiques, a lot of antique shops, and it's a very old vibe and very cool. Very cool. But other than that, I mean, it's just the town is what's a city now, but it's huge. It's surprising how big Fremont is. A big, a lot of square footage or a lot of square miles. And
then just continue growing especially with all these companies that are coming out here building factories, and it's just growing. It's just the way it is. Now let's touch base on the vehicle portion. So how long did you have the Toyota for?
I kept the Toyota till I was about, must have been about 21, 22. By that time, I had taken off the camper shell.
You were done with the drive-ins.
I was done with the driving. Had lowered the truck. It was a mini truck, a little brown mini truck. It was pretty cool, man. It had gold rims on it. It was clean. It has its little sound system in it.
Do you still have a picture of that truck?
No, I don't know.
Oh man, I would have loved to see that truck.
Me too. I think my sister has a picture of it somewhere. But yeah, and I ended up having a baby. I had my daughter. So at 21, so I outgrew that. My girlfriend at the time had a 1974 Trans Am, and that was a family vehicle. So
what was it at that age? What was the dream car everybody wanted to have?
Everybody wanted the Vet, the Corvette. Oh, for me?
Yeah.
Oh, for me, man, I always wanted an IROC.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I wanted the IROC Z28, but it was just not. It wasn't practical. I was a family man at that time.
You were all grown up now.
I was growing up. So yeah, I couldn't do it. So what did I end up getting? I think I ended up getting another truck, but with extended cab. Had a 1991 GMC Sierra, the pickup.
Okay,
yeah, that's what I had. Yeah, that was my next vehicle.
So you had your daughter at 21.
Mm-hmm.
How many kids do you have now?
I have 5 kids and one stepdaughter, so I was like 6 kids, 4 girls and 2 boys.
So after you're 21, what was the time frame when you had your second child?
Well, actually, Brianna was my second child. My first child was when I was 16.
Okay.
That's my son, Joel, and he lives in Texas. So yeah, and then Brianna was born in 1986, and then I had Zach in 1992. So
92.
Yeah.
Okay. So I do remember meeting Zach
Mm-hmm.
on our fishing trip that we took, actually on the boat that's here on our right.
Yeah.
But I think that's the only one I've met so far of your kids.
Brianna, she's in the house. She's here.
Right.
Yeah, and then Elsie and I got married. I actually met Elsie. I was working in Numi at the time, and I got hired in Numi on October 3rd, 1988. And so I was working night shift, and I used to go get my lunch. I lived down the street, and so I used to go get my lunch from the tortilla factory. And I would see Elsie working there in the store, and eventually, I got brave enough to ask her out. So my sister helped out being matchmaker, but yeah. So we got together in 1995. I met Elsie, went out, and we've been together ever since.
So a good segue. Your wife, she runs or is actual owner of the tortilla factory?
So her dad, Rogelio, started the tortilla factory. Him and his mom, not just him, but her mom, started tortilla factory in 1972. And Rogelio was working at the General Motors, which is now the Tesla plant, but it used to be the General Motors plant.
Right.
It was also the Numi plant. But so his brother-in-law had a little tortilla business, Mexico tortilla business, also in Hayward, and so he would help him with that. And then eventually Rogelio ended up buying a little tortilla machine, like making tortillas, and so he started that. And then he branched out onto his own. He took a leave of absence from General Motors in 72. And,
Started the business.
He never went back to the factory. So he just stayed there working and doing that.
Now, is he still around?
No, he passed in 2009.
Okay.
So it was Rogelio and his wife, Ercilia, and they had 3 daughters. And then my brother-in-law, Vince, he's married to the oldest sister So between him and the sisters, they run the tortilla factory.
Okay. Well, a big shout out to them again, to that whole family. We appreciate them for sponsoring today's episode. And I definitely, every time we do get to go to that place, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Those tacos are, and it's funny because I always forget. But when I order the tacos, whoever's running the register, they always tell me, "Are you sure you want that many?" Because they're not normal size.
Yeah.
And it's and I always take it as a challenge. And I'm like,
Man.
Do you not see me? You don't think I could take it?
I'd say.
And then I get them, and I'm like, I made a mistake. I was like, all right, well, I paid for them.
Yeah.
I was like, so I'm gonna go ahead and eat those. So,
You can always take it home with you.
nah, man, see that? I feel like that's almost like a defeat. That's like it's an excuse.
Not tapping out. I can do it.
What did they say? You pass out before you tap out.
Hey.
There you go. I'm gonna pass out before I tap out. Really good food. I do encourage a lot of people to go and check that place out. And yeah, just let them know that you heard it from the Nuestra Life podcast, that they sent you.
Yeah.
Now we're trying to get some more business going that way. We love local business, especially with the history that they have.
Yeah, they've been around 52 years now, so they've been around a long time.
And then just recently, they were part of the event for the Dia de los Muertos.
Yeah, they have a Dia de los Muertos celebration. That started about maybe 8 years ago, maybe a little less, but it was started out small, and it's grown. And they shut down part of Thornton, a couple of blocks, and they had a big celebration. It was really nice, man, and really community feel, really great for the community. People turned out from, all over and from Newark, and so yeah.
That's the biggest thank you anybody can get, is when the community backs you up.
Right.
Because if it's one thing if family and friends are like, they support you, that's great,
Yeah.
But when complete strangers, they back up your idea, that's a huge.
Yeah, it's great support, man.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's valuable. It's priceless, really. So yeah.
Yeah, so don't be one of those people that miss out on great food.
Yeah.
You'll definitely regret it.
Yeah.
So now let's go ahead and move on to earlier you touched on some stuff, and again, feel free if you don't want to talk about it, it's fine. You said that some of your friends were the ones that started you drinking. Now, is that something that you continue doing? Something you
Yeah. I started drinking at a young age. Back then, that was a thing to do. Probably and probably still is. I'm guessing. I don't know, but like I said, for myself, I was going through a time where I had lost my mom, and I had also lost my grandparents. My grandparents were with us growing up, and my brother moved out and my sister moved out, and then my mom was going to school, furthering her education. So my grandparents were always there, and so they were part of my raising and growing up, and so they that was part of the reason why we moved back to Texas. My grandfather was he had Alzheimer's, and he knew, and my grandmother too knew that he didn't have too much longer, I think. And so we moved to San Antonio in 1978. And so, so my grandfather died in 79. My grandmother died in 1980. And then my mom died in 1981. So I was kind of, lost. And wasn't really sure what was going on and how to process things. I went to I'm in a new school, trying to adjust, and alcohol for me was like an outlet, like an escape, and it kind of brought me out of my shell because I was pretty withdrawn. I was kind of just
to yourself.
To myself. I didn't know how to talk to people really. So anyway, so like I said, when I met Dave and those guys are still like brothers to me. We still once a year go to camping once a year, and we've been going camping trip for 40 years, You know, it was about 8 of us, 9 of us. We just did this camping trip in May, and there was 15 of us out there.
Wow.
We had almost all the campgrounds. So we've stayed friends for a long time. But yeah, so, but, you know, for me, alcohol and, you know, I ended up getting into the drugs. There was a lot of back in the 80s. And so I gravitated to that. And, yeah, you know, it just kind of consumed my life, took me over. And I battled with that for 35 years. So finally, I got clean and sober in November 21st, 2019. I just made 5 years sobriety 2 days ago. So, yeah.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you, man.
Very proud of you, Rodney.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been an experience. You know, it's been a struggle. For many years, I tried to stop drinking and using, but just you know, I go to AA. I'm a part of AA, and I attend meetings 3-4 times a week. I'm very yeah. I there's not enough good things I can say about AA. It's helped me. So I met a lot of good friends, a lot of good people in there. So yeah.
Yeah, I've met some people who also have mentioned to me that they've gone through AA, and they say the same thing. They feel like it's like AA has given them a new life, or at least a new set of eyes to look at the world a different way. That's going to help them find that either that coping mechanism or that reason to do and be better.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm assuming at this point now you've probably gone to the point of sponsoring people.
Yeah.
So how does AA actually work? I'm assuming, from what I understand, you can't force somebody to go into AA, correct?
No.
'Cause I know in Mexico, there is places where family members can pick you up and take you to the place by force, and you are locked in there.
Yeah.
You know, obviously you can't do that here. That's kidnapping, but
there's court ordered, right? You get a DUI, and you know, part of your sentencing or part of your that what you got to do is go to meetings. You know, what they call this called a secretary, and you facilitate the meetings, and you know, if people come in and they have a paper and you know,
a sign-in sheet,
like an attendance thing.
Okay.
You assign that, and you sign it, and that's proof to the judge or to the courts that you're attending. And some people do it because they have to do it. Hopefully, along the way, they hear something. Yeah, and the only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking, and that's it. You have a desire to stop drinking, and then you know, do other things and follow the program. And it's totally up to you. You know, we have free will. We were born with free will, and however you want to do it, you know.
Yeah.
For me, I got tired of living that kind of life. By the grace of God, I found, or AA was brought into my life when I was 30 years old. And I got clean and sober then for about 4 years, and then I ended up going back out. But I knew, for me, I tried many different avenues or things to do to get sober. You know, going to church, self-help books, therapy, counseling, and none of that ever worked for me. You know, for me it was, you know, and definitely AA is not the only way to get sober. There's many other ways that you can get sober, but for me
that was the way that helped you the best.
Yeah.
And yeah, at the end of the day, man, we want to encourage everybody to, you know, if you feel like you need the help, you know, just do what you gotta do. Try to find the help. Sometimes it's even just the people that you're in your small group, you know. Sometimes just talking to somebody. Earlier today, you before we started recording, you asked me, you know, what got me into doing podcasting and stuff. And jokingly, I said, you know, it's because I'm pretty nosy, and you know, I like to talk to people and listen to them. But it's my own like therapy session too. You know, it's weird because originally when I first started, so I went through a bunch of stuff My parents were deported, so at a young age, I had to grow up. My siblings and everybody we all got separated. So I had to go through stuff and grow up. And then when I started from an early age, I always liked the whole radio stuff and video recording, and then I found out about podcasting. So I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool. And then at the beginning, it felt more of like me finding, like, I don't even know what the word is. I don't know if it's like pity or finding like, oh, this person has it worse than me. And then kind of making me feel like a better or a bigger person, which is not good. You don't want, no, I realize that that's not a good thing. And it's more of like, for me, finding somebody to talk to about what I went through. There's only a small handful of people that know like the whole 100% story of my life till this day. And maybe soon I'll do a couple series episodes of me discussing what everything that happened, possibly having some of my family members who were involved in that, kind of giving that story. But I ended up feeling very therapeutic. I felt, talking to people and discussing, stuff that they went through, stuff that I went through. And the whole point of the podcast of the Nuestra Life is pretty much how our roads crossed and how some roads can have similarities or differences, but yet somehow we still end up crossing, and, I'm really proud and happy to hear that you found the help. You're 5 years sober. That's definitely something to be proud of and do that.
I think I've met so many different walks of life, from homeless people who live, down at the creek and down at the river, to people who live in these huge mansions.
Yeah.
And, they share their stories, and the stories might be a little bit different, but there's so many similarities of how they feel about themselves or how they view life, and this hopelessness. It doesn't matter how much money you have, and it doesn't matter. And if you have no money, then definitely you probably feel hopeless, and there's nothing you can do. But those people reach out and they connect and they talk about, being sober is one thing. Is yes, stop drinking or if you have an addiction to drugs, yes, but definitely sobriety is living life on life's terms and making the best out of it. Being a better version of yourself. So,
Almost ironically, almost sounds like living clean and experiencing life in a clean way and everything. It's almost like, in a way, like an addiction thing you want to have. Like you want to be able to live life happily, freely,
yeah.
and experience that. Because I'm assuming having certain addictions, certain reasons of going to AA or stuff like that, it's you feel like you're trapped into that.
Yeah.
Your life is surrounded by that addiction, but then you change it from an addiction that's killing you to an addiction that's all about bringing you up and experiencing life how you're supposed to do it.
I think. So in 2018, I was diagnosed with cancer. They found 2 tumors in my stomach, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I thought, man, that's it. My mom died from cancer at 53. I got diagnosed with cancer at 53, and I was like, oh man, this is it for me. So I went through my treatments, thank God, and I'm cancer free now. But definitely, it puts life in a different perspective. You see life differently. You appreciate the things that you have. Unfortunately for me, I still had not cured the addiction problem, the alcohol problem, because as soon as I finished my chemotherapy, I went right back out, and it took me another 6 months to finally get it through my head that I had been given a second chance, and I was blowing it again, and there's so much. Life has so much to offer and so much to give. But you just have to, for me, I have to put the right foot forward. And for me, the best thing to do is stay out of my own way. And how I do that is by being humble, man, and being willing to whatever it takes to stay clean and sober for that day, you know. And I've met people who don't have an addiction problem. They don't have an alcohol problem, but they're still sad. You know, they're still and so and I think the willingness, if you have the willingness to figure out what is going on with you, and it's okay to, nobody's perfect, man. You know, we all suffer from the human condition, and that is being human, you know, so it's okay. And that's what I've learned too. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay if you're not feeling good. And the best thing to do, and like you were saying earlier, is to talk to someone, you know, to talk to somebody.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you just gotta, I don't know, it's weird, man, because it's like you want to figure it out yourself, but I feel like a lot of people feel less of a person to ask for help.
Yeah.
I mean, if they ask for help, they feel like they're less of a person. Yeah. But I definitely encourage people to find the help that they can in whichever way it is, you know, and that kind of touches base with one of the episodes we had with Milton and my other buddies of like just men in general. We have a different mentality when it comes to how society views us and how we view each other. Milton made a comment about kind of like, why can't we have a serious conversation about either men's mental health? And this was during the podcast. And then while he's stating that, we started making jokes. And it was kind of one of those, like, he's like, you know, that's proving my point. Like, why can't we, you know, and it's definitely a learning curve for a lot of people. I mentioned in that podcast that my wife has been my biggest help because I went through a lot of stuff to where I became like, I put a wall around myself. Didn't want to feel a certain way. Didn't want to feel sorry for myself. Didn't want to let other people feel sorry for me. Just, you know, just being just miserable, you know, but not wanting to interfere with somebody else's life. And then from there, not knowing how to express my feelings or my emotions towards either it be her or just in general.
Yeah.
And so she's been extremely helpful. So that's I consider her my support, where that was where my help is. I feel like now I'm a lot, I'm not perfect, but I'm definitely, how she says it, there's always room for improvement. And that can be interpreted in self-improvement, in relationship improvement, in just work improvement, just in general. So like you stated, you know, you found that being humble and winning the little battles of staying sober for the day.
Yeah. And that's all we got, really. You know, there's a saying that I heard in AA. I don't know if it's just AA, but you know, if you have one foot in the past and you have one foot in the future, and you're pissing on the present, right? You just, you know, you're so worried about future tripping and like, oh man, I messed up back then, and what you're forgetting or not being present in right now. You know, my sponsor tells me, I remember when I was going through it, and he told me, "What time is it?" And he goes, "Where are you?" I said, you know, I gave him the address of the church. I looked at the clock. He goes, "No." He goes, "You're right here where your feet are, and the time is now, and that's where you need to stay. You know, that's where you need to be." Yeah. So I try to, and it's not easy. That is something that I practice. Try to stay where I'm at in the moment at the time. And a lot of times I can't do it, man. You know, and they talk about, in the program, they talk about picking up that 500-pound phone, you know, calling somebody, you know, like I'm not, you know what? And like my sponsor told me, call me, dude, you know. I'm like, dude, I don't want to call you and, you know, whine and cry about what's going on with at home or, you know, stuff that I'm thinking. He goes, dude, you're not the only one. Right. You tell me stuff and I've been through it, or, you know, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. we'll walk through it together. And that's the thing is for me, AA is a we program, and I've been able to, to get that from the program. And it's for me, it's come out like talking to you. I would have never done this 5-6 years ago. I would have never sat here talking. I have talked to people intoxicated. I've sat in this garage with friends and talked about, feeling sorry for myself, or, if tomorrow I'll tell you what I'm going to do, and that's some bullshit. But then come the next day, I'm not going to do it,
Yeah.
Whether I'm afraid of what people are going to think about me. I don't want people to look at me in a bad light, or I don't want to ruffle any feathers. But the thing is that I'm just stuffing that in, man. And so I've learned to be truthful with myself. And it's okay to express my truth or my honesty to you. And, if you like it, okay, great.
Yeah.
If you don't, that's okay too. We don't have to agree,
That's very true. And, I do appreciate you being open, and giving me your time and telling me this stuff. And, we spoke earlier before, anything that you didn't want to talk about, you were more than happy to let me know, and I would, not bring it up and stuff. Touching a little bit to almost close this off, finding things that help you win the little battles in life. For me, when I lost my grandfather, this was my mom's dad. So I used to not be a big fisherman. I wasn't really into it. I would go because my grandpa would take me, but I wasn't like a big, oh, I'm happy to go fishing. Let's do it. He ends up passing away. And then like days later, man, I get like this weird dream of like him waking me up. He's in my side of my bed and he's waking me up. It's 5:00 in the morning. Get up. We're going fishing today. And this time I'm still grieving. He was a big part of my life, so it hurt a lot. I ended up, I just woke up and I was like, I'm gonna go fishing. I don't know what the dream is about, but I'm just gonna go fishing. And I tell you, dude, that was like the most peaceful day like I've ever experienced. Like, I don't know what it was, but I was there for about 9.5 hours, and it was right here at Sandy Wool, down the road here, and caught it was my first rainbow trout, and it was the biggest to this day. It's the biggest rainbow trout I've ever caught. And later thinking about it, I felt it was his way of like still touching base with me, and then it ended up helping me with the grieving process and being a lot more happier. And then now, when we get a chance, we go fishing. Yeah. It's been what, 2-3 times now that we've gone, and it's the funnest I've ever experienced. It's a lot of fun being on your boat, being on the boat that we ended up taking in the bay. That was definitely a really crazy experience. For you, how does fishing intake when it comes to, if you're going through something? Do you feel like fishing actually helps you out with that, or is it just something you're like, I'm just gonna go fish?
Fishing is my brother would take me fishing. Fred loves to fish a lot, and both my brothers actually, they love to fish.
Being that he didn't catch anything the day we went to fish on the.
So pissed. He was so pissed off. Even I caught. Yeah. I would never catch. And I go out there just to hang out. But it's just something that it's just it's spiritual. You're just sitting out there, and there's something about being on a boat for me, or even sitting on the shore. And you can hear the water just lapping on the shore, or if you're on a boat, you hear the water just hitting on the boat, and feeling the wind, and just being out there, especially if you're out there with your friends or you're out there with your brothers, and just enjoying, man. It's a camaraderie, I just think it's for me it's a spiritual experience where it's appreciation and the gratitude that I have to God, as God as I understand Him, and it's appreciation for that, So yeah, fishing is cool, but just being out there is the experience of being out there is even more gratifying. It's fun. You get up early in the morning, and you get out there and it's cold and it's windy and you got snot coming out of your nose but there's just something about it, man. Because when and I used to get seasick a lot. When I used to go.
I remember you were mentioning it when we were planning our trip to the Bay.
Yeah, I used to get sick a lot, and I didn't want to go deep sea fishing, but it's just something about being out there that like I want to do this, and I want to do this with my some friends and my brother, and just being out in the bay, and you get out in the bay, and it's a different perspective of seeing the bay.
Oh yeah,
seeing the land. It's just different.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's a trip. It's a beauty out there for me. It's just it's a spiritual experience for sure. For me.
Yeah, and then it's just even more like amazing when the people, like you said, go out with friends and stuff. But the excitement you get when one of your buddies like is on something and you're just like, you're ready for them to catch it, and then they miss.
Yeah.
They miss, and then now they're just talking smack. Because that's
crap.
exactly what happened when we went fishing to the bay, or at the bay, I'm sorry, and everybody was catching. It was me, the other guy, and then you, and it was going down the line.
Yeah.
And then I just couldn't catch anything, man. Like, couldn't catch anything. And then Milton decided to come over, and he's like, "Oh, I've caught fish already." And I was like, well, all right, man. Well, I'm trying to catch something, whatever. Nothing's happened. Then all of a sudden I get one and I just start reeling it in. But the captain and the deckhand were dealing with something else on the other side.
Yeah.
So I'm bringing it in. They finally run over. And as he's putting the net down to catch it, it snaps off the line and goes away. And I just look at Milton, and he has the biggest grin in his face, and he just starts laughing at me. And I'm just like, dude, it was so exciting, like trying to get that striped bass to come up. Yeah. And then I think it was just the excitement or Milton's excitement of him just seeing me just defeated.
Yeah.
But then after, like, we totally forgot about that whole thing, and then just went back to everybody fishing and just having a good time. Like it's definitely a great experience, and I can't wait to definitely do it again.
Do it again. Oh, yeah. For sure.
I mean, especially since my fishing license is coming up. It's coming up in like 4 months. Yeah, 4 months in March. So I definitely want to go do some fishing before that. Yeah. Even though right now it's probably super cold.
Yeah, it's cold. And I was just looking at the fishing report. They're doing rock cod and crab right now. So yeah, right, rock cod and crab.
I'm always down, Rodney.
Yeah,
I'm always down.
We can do it.
There you go. Hi, Rodney. Well, again, I wanted to thank you for taking some time and just giving us, a little glimpse into your life, man. I really appreciate it. I feel like at least me personally, I got to meet Rodney more of a personal level and a work level. You definitely live up to the hype that people talk about you, man. And I want to say, make sure you keep up the great work. You have definitely more people than you know. Having your back at work and in your life. We're always here for you if you need anything. And I can't wait to do this again, man.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I wasn't sure what to expect. I'm glad I did it. And thank you. You're a great host. And you're very professional, man. That's pretty awesome. Cool setup. And I hope to come back someday again.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely do this again. Maybe we'll have Milton.
Oh yeah,
we'll have Milton. We'll have all three. Milton did mention that he wanted to do one with all three of us. He wanted to do that. He did message me earlier, and he wanted me to give you a personal congratulations on your 5-year sobriety. He did tell me that. And I know everybody at work also
Yeah.
we congratulate you on that, Ronnie.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's definitely a proud moment for me, and it's humbling. And I thank you for all the support, man. It means a lot to me.
Yeah. We'll definitely get this good, and we'll see what happens at the chili cook-off at work.
Sounds good. Can't wait to eat.
There you go. Again, everybody, thank you for listening to another episode of the La Nuestra Life Podcast. I am Eddie, and this is my special guest, Rodney Gonzales. And a big shout out to our sponsors of the day, the Mexico Tortilla Factory. Gotta go. That they're found. What's the address again, Ronnie?
7015 Thornton Avenue, Newark, California.
Old Town Newark.
Old Town, baby.
Bay Area. Yay, yay.